All right, welcome everyone to the General Arts and Science information session. We are part of the School of Liberal Arts and Sciences at George Brown College. So we will have a question and answer period afterwards, and we'll have some time for you to ask questions. But for now, we're going to focus on getting through this information session. All right, so our program is made up of a one-year certificate and a two-year diploma. The lovely thing about this is you have a choice between either one and moving between one or the other as we move through the semester. I'm Maurizio Dodaro. I'm your program coordinator and professor in this program. And our chair, Susan Hexemer, is here as well, always accessible, always working to make your job as a student easier and mine as a teacher and coordinator easier. So the agenda for today is starting with the simple question, why students choose a GAS program, or our GAS program specifically. And throughout this presentation, you'll see that ours is a little bit different than other GAS programs in the Southern Ontario area. We'll look at benefits of our curriculum. We'll look at the specific courses and pathways. It's important to know what courses and specifically you'll be working on over the year or 2 years. And that is essentially the question for many students. They're not sure if they want the certificate or the diploma. We'll look at what the differences are and why one would make more sense given a pathway that you're looking at. And then lastly, what to expect on a day-to-day basis in our program and life as a student in our program. So a look at why students choose this program. One of the reasons is students are looking for a way to refresh and strengthen the range of academic skills, just to keep everything open. Math, science, English, other humanities courses, even looking at career path studies as well. We offer a course in that. So, but most importantly, this program offers development in your writing, so communication in general, both oral and written, critical thinking, and research skills. These are the fundamental pillars of not only our program, but really what you would be doing in any other program. So this is kind of where it starts. These skills need to be developed, and that's what we really focus on. We also engage in a broad range of courses, so we bring a lot of knowledge. We try to keep it well-rounded and open just to give you more opportunities for selection for further study. It's also a place where you can acquire a solid foundation for those future studies, whether it be college or university. And we can help, and our curriculum, our courses help clarify those future directions. So it's a decision also you don't have to make on your own. Our program and the courses will help you figure that out, but ultimately we're here as well, me specifically, to help you navigate that choice and path that you'll be setting. And also, our program offers an opportunity for students to transfer these essential skills into the workplace or into any kind of academic pursuit that you'll be taking after this program. So I've included a thought here. There is a little bit of a tendency out there to minimize the importance of liberal arts programs and skills that come with it. So Mark Cuban, world famous entrepreneur, very successful man in many different ways, but as an entrepreneur, there's no doubt he has a lot to say about this. He said, I personally think there's going to be a greater demand in 10 years for liberal arts majors than there were for programming majors and maybe even engineering. The reason why he says that is algorithms, robotics, programs, computers, they figure a lot of things out that we don't have to anymore, but people are still needed for soft skills and for being creative and for critical thinking and figuring problems out from the start. That's what he's getting at. Moving on to the next slide. What are the benefits of a broad curriculum? Very quickly, we include, as I said, science, social science, math, humanities, and not all programs do that. Other college general arts and science programs don't necessarily do this. Ours does, and I think it represents great value to students. So we also engage in a range of courses that help students clarify your future study. We have a career planning course available. We have in that course and in another course that we offer, students reflect directly on their study habits. So that is a key for success and a key to set a path for your future studies. So we mix courses that support analytical and critical thinking that are relevant to many career areas that employers value. So everything very specific from, say, themes in geography to critical thinking. So very specific material, and then process-oriented courses that are very important, like critical thinking and research skills. We encourage teamwork skills, always a very important value in the workplace. Problem solving and seeing assumptions and looking at a problem in a different way. Our courses also encourage creativity, and you have opportunities to be creative. Self-management, extremely important, especially in remote learning settings. Self-management and independent learning are extremely important. You have ample opportunities to develop those here in the program, and access to professors who can help you navigate through that if it's new to you or something you struggle with. We help you with some goal setting and time management, essential skills in school and the workplace, no doubt. Moving on to the next slide, here you have a list of the courses from semester 1. So our first year and our second year actually share the first year. So whether you're in the 1-year program or the 2-year program, everyone is taking these courses in semester 1, and everyone will be taking the same courses in semester 2. So in semester 1, you have your college English, critical thinking, environmental science, math, learning in the brain, which is a goal setting, reflection type of course, and introduction to media studies. There's your first semester. Just a quick note, we would figure out which level of English and math you would be most comfortable and functional in. That's something we would talk about later, but everyone would get placed in the right English and the right math, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. Moving on to the next slide, semester 2 courses. We have Introduction to Research, Rhyme and Reasoning, which is a rhetoric course that is looking closely at language and public speaking type of dynamics. We look at fundamental themes in geography in this semester, exploring career options, and then you have to choose a math elective, either calculus or personal finance, or a statistics course. And then you have to choose one of these 3 science electives as well, either the nutrition, human biology, or plants and society. The year 2 of the program focuses more on humanities courses, and some of you may not be familiar with what that means. Humanities is a large umbrella word or term for courses like philosophy, literature, fine arts, history, political science, etc. So in this semester, you'd be looking at taking a part 1 in semester 3 and then a part 2 in semester 4. So we have our literature component, as you can see there, with Introduction to Canadian Literature, and then semester 4, critical approaches to literature. Then we have philosophy 1, philosophy 2, psychology 1, psychology 2. The same with sociology. You would be doing sociology 1 in semester 3, and then sociology 2 in semester 4. And we have a Foundations of Canadian Culture, which looks at Canada and its history and its cultural formation, and the unique makeup of what Canada is. And then in second semester, it becomes more of a contemporary look at what Canada is. A little bit of history, a little bit of economics, a little bit of political science in there, okay? And then there's one elective you have to take in each semester, in semester 3 and semester 4. Moving on to the next slide, which one is for you? And you don't have to know that right away. You don't have to know that coming in. So some students think that R104, the 1-year certificate, is the way to go, and that's great. Students with that 1-year certificate still have the option when they complete it. If they complete it with a 3.0 or better grade point average, they can go on to university after our 1-year certificate. And they also can move on to college programming after that. It's important to note that students who do the 1 year and do plan on going to university, even if you have your 3.0, you're not really going to be taking any credits with you. You may get 1 or 2 depending on where you're applying. Science programs require high GPA from this 1 year you'd be doing. So if you have a plan of moving into science, studies at university, you'd have to get a really high GPA, usually in 3.5 and up. And your math and science courses would be very important. And also you can apply to college programs at our college or any other college in the GTA or Canada for that matter. But the GPA requirement for college programming is typically lower than the 3.0. All right, moving on to the diploma. The diploma is a little bit different, as you saw, from second year. There's a lot more humanities, a lot more writing, a lot more reading, a lot more research involved with your courses. So students who are thinking about going to university and studying liberal arts courses or programming like humanities or social sciences, psychology, sociology, this would be the program for you. So the wonderful thing about the two-year program is students actually do get a transfer credit year. So along with the 3.0 that you would have to have in order to move on to university, there's a couple of other important features. One, you would be able to take courses in the summer, depending on which university you go to. And you would also have to focus your studies on a liberal science type program, humanities or social science, in which case you get anywhere between 5 to 10 credits, which is either 1 year of study to 2 years of study, depending on what university you go to. So students who enter the workplace will also likely do so at an intern level. We get this question all the time, you know, with a 2-year diploma, what kind of work can I get? Typically intern level, and then you can move up within an organization because you would have the essential skills to do that. And hopefully you'd be practicing them and continuing the development of them. And also students, we've had students in the past take these skills they get from our program and start some kind of entrepreneurial venture on their own, where they can put these skills to work, math skills, creativity, communication skills. Okay, so the important part of this 2-year diploma is students who take it, many of those students have an eye on a future academic step, typically university, okay? In the question and answer period, you can ask more questions specifically about this because there's a lot more information that you really would need to have about it moving forward. So the diploma to degree studies agreement is designed for students to transfer into humanities and social sciences, as I've already said. And the advantages of year 2 are that you're getting a year credit. So you're saving time. You can actually accelerate the study of your degree. So you get that 1-year credit, but you can also take courses in the summer and finish a little bit sooner than you would otherwise by going from the 1 year to university. This can be faster if you take courses in the summer. You save money because you're getting 1-year credit for the second year that you did. You're getting 1 year that's going towards your university degree. So in effect, you've saved more than half the money of the tuition that it would cost for university. So you're paying about just under 4,000, university is about 9,000 plus. You basically got that 1 year at half the price that you would have paid at university. So it's another advantage. But most importantly is the superior academic preparation that you would get. We know from hearing from our university partners and from students that our students who go on to university feel that they're very prepared and they do very well in that key first semester at university. So preparation, superior preparation, you save money and potentially save time as well. So students could transfer over into Bachelor of Science studies, but won't take the credits with them, have to have a higher GPA, and you may have to look after some prerequisites that you may need at that point, okay? But just know at this stage, it is possible to move into Bachelor of Science studies from the 2-year program. More on those transfer agreements that I mentioned to you. You don't need to know the details. What you do need to know is that with our 2-year program, and it's key that you understand that universities offer these agreements, these transfer agreements, only to the 2-year programs. So if you take our 2-year program and you're wondering what universities you could go to and get credit, here's a pretty defining list of the most popular ones that students ask about and for proximity and other reasons. Most of them are in Canada. So we have U of T, University of Waterloo. So quickly, U of T gives you a little bit over a year. University, or of Waterloo, depending on where or what program you take, could be up to 2 years or just shy of 2 years. York University is 1.5 years. Bishop's University, again, depending on GPA and other factors, could be anywhere between 1.5 years and 2 years. Athabasca is an online university, also a very good transfer arrangement with us. Royal Roads in BC, Vancouver Island University in BC. Some unique programming here. Royal Roads offers a rhetoric and writing type of journalism type of focus on developing your writing. VIU offers a program whereby our students who finish the 2-year diploma go right into Teachers College, for example. So there's a lot of opportunities here, and each university offers something different. It's not a kind of fixed agreement. They're all very different, and it's worth investigating all of them. Buffalo State University, just south of the border, is also a great university that is very, very good about a transfer credit, almost 2 years. University of Sussex, if you want to study law in England, you can. And you also get a very generous transfer for the work you did here as well. So if you want more information about that, we could talk more about that later. And more importantly, the link that we've provided here is very detailed in giving you the information regarding what kind of credit is available. So if you're curious about that, I suggest you check out that link and see what the agreements are for credit at different universities. Moving on, students also have interest in going to universities with whom we do not have a transfer agreement. So just so you know, and keeping it short here, you can still go to any university in Canada or the United States, provided you have the GPA and you meet prerequisite requirements for whatever program you're specifically looking at. However, it's important to remember that even though you've done the 2-year program here, those universities will not necessarily give you the 6 credits or the 8 credits or the 9 credits that you would be getting with those schools with whom we have agreements. So you'd have to figure that out with that school, what kind of credit they give you for this program. They're not obligated to give you anything fixed. That's something that they would determine with you moving forward. Okay, so you'd have to consult the admissions and program advisors at that school regarding credit you can get for our program. Moving on to the next slide. What should you expect being here with us, studying with us? So class sizes are between 40 and 60. I've been doing this a while, and I've heard from students, this is a very comfortable number. Students get to know one another. They get to know their professors. It's a very comfortable learning environment with this size. In this unique and not over yet situation where we're learning remotely, this is how September will be. This is how maybe January will be, depending how things go. We are delivering online classes, and there are positives to this. We all miss the classroom, or many people miss the classroom, but there are many positives to come out of learning online. And it'll help you develop skills for digital learning. It'll help you develop skills for motivating your own learning and staying on top of your own learning and becoming a better independent learner. So we have committed professors to help you through this, committed support staff. We have advising services. We have a lot of academic supports for students. You just need to ask, and we can direct you to what's most needed and most helpful for you in that situation. With respect to who are your classmates going to be and what does every day look like, especially once we get back into the classroom, most of our students are recent high school graduates or have taken a year or 2 break from high school. Many of our students are in their 20s, mid-20s. Some of them are in their 40s returning to school, so there's a big mix of ages and interests and backgrounds in our program. Students from all over the GTA, sometimes from other provinces, and many international students. So we have students from China, Japan, South America, many different parts of the world. Now, a lot of students have a question about, well, what does success look like in general arts and science? Well, many students need many different things. Not all students are the same. So some students will have need for learning accommodations that will come through the Accessible Learning Services program. Some students will really need to develop skills like time management and just kind of the larger structure that comes with being a student, and peer coaching helps with that. It's not a tutoring service. It's more of a coaching service for how to approach being a student and the challenges that you meet every day. And then we do have specific tutoring services available that focus on math and English. We have counseling that's free and confidential. Now, we all have high points in the semester and we all have low points in the semester. Sometimes we just need a little bit of help and someone to talk to. And we offer really great library resources, most of them electronic because that's where the world is going. A lot of access through our library system to great electronic sources, and our librarians are experts at that. They know how to best use these resources, whether they be hard book resources or electronic resources. Okay, we have the Student Association, which is always there for you to help you in all aspects of student life, whether it be helping you advocate for yourself or social contexts and situations like clubs, and develop the social side of your life. And moving on to the next slide, we have a look at what does your week look like? How are you planning your week? Typically, you should plan for 19 hours of class. It'll vary by an hour or two depending on the semester, but you're looking at between 19 and 20 hours of in-class time per week. So students often would say, well, that's not a lot. And it is and it isn't, but the key with understanding how to manage those 20 hours is the reality that you're doing a lot of work outside of that time. So you're in class, but you're also out of class preparing for those in-class hours and doing the work and research that needs to be done to complete the assignments that you're getting in those class hours. So approximately you're adding about 30 hours to the 20 hours you're doing in class, depending on the student. Some will only need 20, some will need 30, just like my next observation that typically students should not be working more than 12 hours a week. It's actually on the high side for employment because you're looking at 20 in class, 20 to 30 out of class, and then 12 hours per week. That can be a stressful week, but these are just guideline numbers to help you understand and plan what your semester would look like. The challenge is to stay engaged in classes, and this is the key, especially with online learning. Without it, your experience becomes diminished, your connection becomes diminished, and then your grades ultimately tend to suffer when you're not engaged in your classes. And Peer Connect can help you with that, your professors can help you with that, but you've got to be the leader in the staying engaged category. Next slide, typical attributes of a successful student in GAS. Time management is the big one, as it is for employment and any type of academic or career endeavor in the future. It's and family and your domestic life and your social life. It's all about managing your time. So making a weekly schedule and a monthly schedule is key for getting through a semester in post-secondary. Will help you figure out how to do that. Open to being intentional about forming effective academic habits. That's a little bit of fancy language for be open to change and be honest with yourself about how you study, what your attitude towards it is, and changing and forming the most effective ways of learning and getting through the demands of the semester. So maybe looking at reading a different way, not doing it maybe the way you've always done it. Same thing with studying, finding the best study methods for each subject and each type of test, knowing how to take notes. These are all key to really becoming, upping your game as a student. And this is a great place for you to learn how to do that. You'll also get an opportunity to engage with professors, your fellow students in your weekly classes. We observe here with our students that they tend to form a really good community, and that's important with helping each other get through this and having fun while you're doing it. Next slide. Some common challenges that students face. Staying on top of all the work. Sometimes people run low on energy. Sometimes they run into a difficulty with life outside of school. So staying on top of that is a challenge. And we can talk about, different ways of doing that. Asking for help. This is key. So be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, well, what do I do when I run into some trouble? Do I just kind of retreat and figure I'm going to get this done on my own and I'll resolve this myself? Or are you going to maybe look at some other ways of doing that, leaning on other students, leaning on support services that are available to you to help you get through this and learn how to get better at getting through things? Time management is a big challenge, and too many employment hours is something that students tend to, they fall into that trap of saying, well, I'll catch up with school later, I got to work now. And that tends to be something that is difficult to recover from. So still warning there. The next slide that we have for you is, what are the admission requirements for GAS? GAS, General Arts and Science, of course. So complete grade 12, college or U-level courses. Both our programs are available for students. So if a September admission works for you, great. If not, we actually have the option of starting in January as well. So those students who start in January will actually complete the second semester in the summer following their first semester. So you get a few weeks break and that's about it. Then you're back at it with semester 2 in the summer. And then you start in September again. If you're in the 2-year program, you're actually going to be in the same class with those students that started in September, the September before. So September 2021 courses will be online, not in class just yet. Okay, so prepare for that eventuality. For further questions, you can ask or direct them towards the General Arts and Science. It's a general email, but our wonderful support person who holds the program together, Michelle, will be looking at that, and I have a look at that as well. So you would be getting me and or Michelle for any questions you have. A couple of links that'll help you with getting through that kind of initial type of general information you need. We have the first website for the R101 2-year diploma program, and the second link takes you specifically to our 1-year program website, which we'll look at again what courses are being taken, what are some descriptions of the program. And moving on to the question period of this session, happy to take any and all questions regarding to any aspect of the program or how you would relate to the program. Anything from future admissions and transferring, or regarding student skills and experiences, anything at all. Go ahead, ask. I think you're muted, Susan.
All right. My question is, why would I choose to go to the General Arts and Science program rather than going directly to university?
Well, assuming you had that option, because some students don't, and they take our program because they need to really up their transcript and get the preparation. But assuming you could go to university, and we have had students choose to come here rather than go to university right after high school. And I've asked those students that question, and their answer was, I don't feel ready. They've told me that they simply don't feel ready to be in a university setting. They want to improve their reading skills, their writing skills, their research skills. And when you consider that you're not actually losing anything, you're gaining by doing that, some students are quite happy to do it. So it really does come down to the preparation. The reality is, and we speak to our U of T partners and other partners, most students, the biggest learning curve is that jump from high school standards to university standards. That jump, let's call it a step, is difficult for students, and most students falter in that first semester at university. So by November, they're struggling, and there's really kind of no way back for that semester. So that can be defining for a student. That could crush their confidence. It could complicate their transcript. It can cause it can cause problems with your parents. It can cause a lot of problems not succeeding in that first semester at university. Our program allows you to start university with a year credit or more, oftentimes more. So you're not losing any time. You're saving money, as I said in this presentation, but most importantly, you're going more prepared. Students don't just feel more confident. So it's not just a matter of perception. It's a reality that now you can approach assignments differently. The way you approach your writing is different. You're a better writer. You know how to research. You know how to gather materials and present them properly because you're better at documenting your sources and integrating different sources into your writing. And that's the key to succeeding in university. So that preparation is key. That's, to answer your question, it's for preparation.
That's a great answer, Mauricio. We have a question. I actually answered 2 questions. So there's a question from Tatiana, who's registered for English for academic purposes starting next month, and she's planning to apply to university. She will apply for a BA in English. Her question is, would I benefit from taking the R101 2-year diploma? So diploma program, or should I go straight to university? So that's a very important question. I think you've kind of answered it by saying it depends on your confidence and feeling of readiness to engage in university.
Yeah. So it's difficult to, and it would come down to a case by case, and there's no way to really assess, whether the student should go directly to university or not. But the key here is, remember, if you don't feel confident, or even you realize that, my writing has improved a lot recently, but it needs to be better and in a different, more advanced than it is now, you're not giving anything up by coming here or by taking a 2-year diploma. You're not giving anything up. You're not compromising. So don't look at it as, wow, I'm taking an extra year. You're not. You're getting credit for that year and then some. So there's absolutely nothing to lose and only more to be gained in my experience. So anybody who is coming from, an ESL type background, or a background where language and writing has been a little bit of a challenge, I think that doing a program like ours is a very good idea.
Mauricio, we had another question from Sophia, and I answered it to the best of my ability. Does Ryerson have a course transfer agreement with the program? And I said not formally, but there is an ONCAT website, and I'll see if I can find it, that will show you what kinds of transfers are available. So it's the ONCAT Ontario College Transfer website, and you can look to see what kinds of credit you can get. It really varies from institution to institution. So you might be able to get credit for some of the year 2 courses because they're geared towards a university preparation, but they would be assessing your course. They would look at the course outline. They would determine whether or not it would have to have a minimum grade. It usually needs to have a grade of C- in order, and that's what George Brown does, C- in order to be counted. And but it is, and that's the kind of thing, as Mauricio was saying, you'd want to follow up with the institution to see how they would view those courses and whether they have a history of granting credits for them.
Yeah, you've hit it directly, Susan. It's a question of assessing what you've done based on what program you've selected. So if you think about going to Ryerson and doing journalism, for example, they might look at the Introduction to Canadian Literature course, or look at the Critical Approaches to Literature and the other English course and the research course, and say, okay, you know what? This covers your 100 level English or writing development type course. That'll be up to them. The reason why the schools with whom we have agreements, this stuff has already been done. So they've looked at our program very closely, and they've said, okay, these courses are the equivalent of these other courses and these programs in our university. So as Susan said, you would probably get something. It just depends on what it is and what program you're going into. Okay, so by no means am I suggesting that you'll get nothing. It's to be determined, and it's hard to say how much you'd get.
I'm just going to post in the chat the link to ontariotransfer.ca, because then it gives you a chance to look at the transfer mechanics from one institution to another. So very often people do want to switch schools, and this can be a very useful thing to look into.
Yeah, yeah. And as Susan said, this happens a lot. And we have a lot of students who come from university to our program or from other colleges to our program. And courses do transfer over. We're not reluctant to do that. We're happy to do that. There's some requirements that have to be met, and that is, one of them is the C-, and one of them is, how does the course and where does the course fit into our curriculum. So if you did a geography course in university or in another college and you got a B in it, and it generally meets, or in a satisfactorily meets what our geography course is, you get the credit. Other institutions operate in the same principle. The neat thing about, sorry, go ahead.
I just made it possible, if anybody had a question that they wanted to turn their mic on and ask the question, I've enabled that. So if there's anybody who has another question that you'd like to say aloud, it might be a question that other people have too, but there's no pressure. It's really just an option. Just looking to see, and you can raise your hand if you want to do that. Just looking to see if we have any. Sophia, I see you have your microphone on. Did you want to ask a question?
Yeah. So, I mean, I just asked it, but I'll say it again, like out loud now.
Yeah.
I'm a high school junior in the US, and I was considering studying law and French later on. So I was looking at this program first while I still, decide exactly what I want to do. Would this be a good foundation for something like that?
I mean, it would be for two reasons. One is in terms of curriculum development and preparation, definitely. As you would have seen in my description of our first year and second year courses. But more importantly, when you say law and French, we have, so York University here in Toronto has what they call Glendon campus, which is a French language campus. Okay, so even students who are introductory level French can go to Glendon. So there are a lot of really good options for blending French and law studies. You know what? You may even at some point be interested in looking at the transfer agreement of studying law in England, which again, students jump from here to there with a great amount of credits, and students would not have to write the LSAT, which is the, I think the law school aptitude test. So for students who go to study law in England, they don't write that test. They go right into law school in England from our program directly. I think all you need is, is the B is the minimum. And then you'd have to write, obviously, accreditation exams to come back to Canada and practice law here. So really the fundamentals of any law program or any law curriculum would be philosophy, would be critical thinking, which we have in our program, and we do well. Students respond very, very well to these two courses. They're key to understanding, logic and understanding our society values and fundamental approaches to how society works, which is really what, law is based on in the end. So our program is really good for any type of humanities, whether it be law or whether it be political science, because we give not only the processes, right, the skills, like the research, the critical thinking, and the reading and writing, but also the nature of the courses, the content themselves lend themselves very well to that. We don't offer language in our program, but if you were to study French or any other language, the principles of literature transfer completely. I actually had this conversation with my daughter yesterday. She said, "Oh, so you did an Italian studies master degree?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, what if I take English? What is that?" I said, "Well, it's actually the same thing. So English studies, I just did the Italian version of that. So you study literature, you study language. So that would work really well because you could transfer your literature studies that you did here over into any type of French studies at a university level. Structures are the same."
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Sophia, thanks so much. You're really playing a heads up game. You're a junior in high school and you're looking ahead. And where are you in the States? If you don't mind saying, I'm just curious.
I'm right outside Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Well, thank you for thinking of George Brown. It actually, I'd have to say, I've been at George Brown for most of my life, and I'm not exaggerating, more than half of my life. And it is a place, it's a really wonderful community. And we have some really, even within the college, we have some really interesting degree options. So it is a community college that offers both diplomas and degrees. And Ryerson is also a fantastic institution with a very recently launched law program. It just started this past fall. So I think that there's something, and Ryerson has a tradition of being quite progressive. So I think that that's also a really interesting option. But there are other law schools in the province of Ontario. And there is also the opportunity to pursue law at the University of Sussex through our articulation agreement. So I hope that you'll stay in touch and let us know if this is going to become part of your plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, please do. And if I could just add, because Susan kind of triggered it for me, all that students need is a B. And I know that that's a solid grade and it takes a lot of work and commitment and sacrifice to do it. But over the years, I've seen a lot of students just frame themselves and not see themselves as students who can excel in academics and be an academic. The B is very achievable and it opens a lot of doors. And it's interesting because those doors aren't open coming out of university. So admission requirements, sorry, coming out of high school is what I meant to say. So the road from high school to university is difficult for a couple of reasons. Number one, the admission requirements are higher. I think you got to have in the 80s. And students typically are less prepared. Whereas students who come to a program like ours, they don't compete with high school students for university spots. It's a different pool. It's what's called the transfer or college pool. And the threshold is lower. You only need a B. And the spots are rather unlimited. That is, the available spots are unlimited. So the path to university is actually, for many different reasons, can be better and easier and more effective from a GAS program. Okay, so I also want to add, I've seen a lot of students come into our program, again, not seeing themselves as, you know, university bound or strong at academics. And that first semester, there's a change. End of the first semester, they say, wait a minute, I can do this. And they feel comfortable. And then their second, third, and fourth semesters are really reflect a significant improvement in performance in GPA. I've seen, I can't tell you how often I've seen that, especially this year. Students have come in being rather mediocre and are finishing with, you know, 3.3, 3.4 averages and have completely transformed the way they see themselves in their relationship with academics and education. A lot of them, a few of them I have in mind right now, didn't see themselves going to university after this program, but they've applied to university. One of them is going to Carleton in Ottawa, and another is staying local that just I have in mind. So it's a good place to build confidence and skills.
So I'm going to just make a comment here based on a question that was raised because I'm monitoring the chat and the Q&A, and there was a question about if you currently have an IEP in high school, how does that transfer? It's such an important question because in the slides, Maurizio mentioned that we have accessible learning services, and what students will do, and this is a really critical point, sometimes people who have an individual educational plan in high school just think, I'm going to college or university, I'm going to leave that behind, I'm just going to go forward. But it's really important to have accommodation needs met, and we have a very good reputation for our accommodations at the college. It's a human right. We need to do it. We have excellent faculty who look after that. They're accessibility consultants. And what you do is if you go to the George Brown website and go to type in accessible learning services, you'll see that there's an intake form. And so what you do is you actually submit an intake form and you do an interview with someone who will determine with you What kinds of documentation are needed? Do you have a recent psychoeducational assessment? If not, what kinds of accommodations have been in place previously? They work with you individually to set up an accommodation plan. And that accommodation plan is something that gets shared with your professors. You don't have to do it, it happens. It's generated from that office. So a good example would be sometimes people get time and a half for tests. So they need extra time for a test. Or sometimes they may have a health issue that means that their periods of wellness are variable. And so maybe they might need extensions on assignments from time to time. So all of that information would be determined and it would be communicated. Never is the health issue itself communicated. It's just the accommodation, and it's helpful for professors to have that information so that they will know how best to accommodate you. And we have also have a lot of adaptive technology. So if somebody needs to do voice to text, we have software that's available. If someone needs a screen reader, we also have, so we have someone who is, his job is adaptive technology, and he will meet with someone one-on-one to determine which of the tools is going to work for you best. So that's kind of just a general statement for anyone who's curious about that, and also just in answer to a specific question that was raised. It's kind of easier to say it aloud than to type all of that detail in. But I'm proud to say we do have an excellent reputation for our accessible learning supports, and we're very determined to ensure that students get their accommodation needs met. Oh, okay. Yep. All right. Yeah, and for anyone who's already enrolled in the course, if you're already enrolled in the program, then it is possible to register with Accessible Learning Services. Yes, for sure. And I'm going to see if I can find that information on our George Brown website. Which I know that we're over time. It's been great to have a few people raising questions, and we're so grateful for people being here. I'm just going to post the link to Accessible Learning Services into the chat so that that information will be available for anyone who might need it. So I'm going to put it right into the chat. And there we go. Okay, so that's the question asked and answered. So going back to what Maurizio said, if you do have any questions, you can send an email to gas at George Brown. I'm just typing it in, georgebrown.ca, and our wonderful support staff, Michelle Scott, will probably answer your question. Maurizio, I'm going to leave the session. I don't know if you want to stay any longer, but just to bring your attention to the fact that we've got a Q&A box, chat box, and if anyone is interested in actually using the mic, but I'm going to say, because this room might be needed, we probably need to wrap up fairly soon, but I am going to leave now, and I will see.
We also have 12, right?
Pardon me?
We have to be out by 12, correct?
We were supposed to be out by 11:30. What I'm going to do, I'm going to post the link for the Q&A room into our chat. So if anybody wants to go into our Q&A room,
well, I thought that's where we were. Okay.
Do that. Preparatory and liberal studies, Q&A. Here we go. Today's live presentations. Why can I not find this? Okay. Let me just do this. I think if I do this, I think that's the link to go to the Q&A room. So I'm going to leave this room, and I guess if I leave the meeting, I don't want to stop the meeting. That's the one thing I'm worried about. If I leave the meeting, I think it's okay. I'm not going to end the
yes. I think Susan left. I'm not sure she meant to leave. So what do we have here? We have Sophia, Gianfranco, and me. I guess I also have to move over to the Q&A room, but I can hang around a couple minutes since we're already here. Sophia or Gianfranco, do you have any other questions that I can help you with?
I'm just curious about how to get accepted into the program.
So do you mean the actual process, the application process itself?
Or just
Or
like
what are the
requirements that they're taking.
requirements?
Yeah.
So there was a slide that went over basic requirements. We have, like I said, we have students who come from different parts of the world, and they would have to meet the same requirements. So there's an English requirement. I think the math requirement has changed recently, so it's become a lot easier. I think the math requirement is a very, very basic one. And if your level of math is already at a college level, then we put you in a more advanced, appropriate math. So your math level doesn't really matter that much. The English, you have to have minimum requirement. In your case, Sophia, it sounds like English is your first language, so that's not an issue. And you have to have the equivalent of a high school diploma.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And if for some more, I guess, comprehensive and detailed look at that, you just, you know what, go to our homepage, the General Arts and Science 2-year diploma page, and it'll have the admission requirements there for you to see, or to click on at least.
All righty. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Hope to see you here. Interesting to have, you know, people from everywhere. It's kind of neat. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.